Trump is playing three-dimensional chess. And I think that with respect to this context, he is probably uniquely qualified to be able to achieve the objective, so long as the objective is to stop the production and importation of fentanyl. And, just last week, there was a big report in the Los Angeles Times where they spoke with Trump officials on background. In fact, I got the quote right here. It said that the Trump administration's policy, their hope is that the cartels will, quote, step back away from fentanyl and they'll just go back to what they've always done, which is cocaine and methamphetamines and a little bit of heroin. If that's the goal, that's achievable. And that will end up saving 80 to 90,000 Americans' lives every year, because what that goal actually represents is a return to the status quo ante 2015. And so what you see Mr. Trump doing is he is altering the incentive landscape. He's not targeting the cartels. He's targeting the Mexican government. And he's doing it through a credible threat of using tariffs as leverage to align their incentives with ours. And one of the manifestations we've seen in that is the handing over of these 29 cartel men. Now, what's significant about this is Mr. Trump's policy has obviated what's called the protection market in Mexico. The protection market was created in 2007, and it is what allows for the cartels to operate. And so the judges that have been gumming up the extraditions for 10, 11, 15 years, what they're doing is because they were paid. Well, what Ms. Sheinbaum did in response to Mr. Trump's credible threats is she invoked the national security law and handed these men over. They weren't extradited in accordance with the treaty. They were expelled out of the country. That's why a man like Caro Quintero, he's facing capital charges. A Mexican national would never face capital charges if he was extradited according to the treaty. And so this is an entirely new element that I'm sure has shaken the cartel leadership to its core, because their first and second and third line of defense is always corrupt Mexican political figures. Well, if Ms. Sheinbaum is prepared to forego the extradition process and just start handing over people, like two of the guys she handed over were guys that got arrested in the last 3 weeks. They hadn't even been to court. She's just kicking people out of the country. That changes the entire landscape, because now the cartel leadership know their protection could be rendered moot. So you've got a two-pronged attack from Mr. Trump. One, they're threatening the Mexican government with leverage, utilizing trade tariffs. On the other hand, the foreign terrorist organization designation, that's not targeting the cartels. They're already all looking at life sentences. That's targeting the Mexican political figures. These are responsible, respectable people in their communities. High-level government officials, high-level military officials, high-level police officers, the law enforcement community. Well, if the American government charges those people, Mexico can't not turn them over. Like they have a lot to lose. Mencho's already looking at 4 life sentences. If you add a 5th life sentence to it, it doesn't change his calculation. But the Mexican political class can't afford to be labeled as a terrorist, or the government can't be labeled as harboring terrorists. So on the public view, Trump is overtly threatening them. And keep in mind, for the first time just last month, Trump's administration publicly claimed that there's an intolerable alliance between the Mexican government and the cartels. That's 100% correct. This has been the case in the last 35 years of the modern cartel structure. But for the first time, it's been publicly stated. And so now the Mexican government is on its heels doing whatever they can to get out from underneath this tariff threat, including expelling people whom normally they would have never sent. You see the number of they've dismantled hundreds of small mom and pop labs in Sinaloa. Enormous seizures in country, not at the border, but in country.
Yep.
And so you see a concerted effort where they're trying to pad the numbers to make their pitch.